What's up, everybody? What's going on? Hope you're having a good weekend. And this video you're watching is part 2 of the Year in Wrestling 1997. My series of videos on the Year in Wrestling. I'll be doing every year up until 2015. When will I be finished? I don't have a clue. Probably in next year, probably in, I don't know, probably March or February. I can't predict when I'll be done. I finished part 1 talking about WrestleMania 13, I believe. So now I'm going to talk about WCW Uncensored 97 pay-per-view that took place March 16th, 97. And it was pretty good uncensored. Much better than 95 and 96 was. That's for damn sure. So here we go with uncensored. Opening matchup was Dean Malenko defeating U.S. champion Eddie Guerrero to win the U.S. title. Ultimo Dragon defeated Psychosis. Glacier defeated Mortis. They were two new stars in WCW, and Glacier and Mortis, they feuded basically for the entire year of 97. And Mortis was the late Chris Kanyon, who passed away. After Glacier defeated Mortis, Marcus Bagwell, Buff Bagwell, defeated his former partner again, or wrestled him again, Scotty Riggs. They wrestled in a strap match, and Buff Bagwell defeated Scotty Riggs in a strap match. Harlem Heat defeated the Public Enemy. TV champion Prince Iaukea defeated Rey Mysterio Jr. to retain the title. Team NWO, this was the main event of Uncensored. Team NWO was Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, or Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and Randy Savage. They defeated Team WCW, who was the Giant, Lex Luger, and the Steiner Brothers. And the Team NWO also defeated Team Piper. Team Piper was the team of Rowdy Piper, Jeff Jarrett, Chris Benoit, and Steve McMichael. That was the main event of Uncensored. And then, after the NWO wins at Uncensored, Sting comes down to the ring. Hogan looks scared to death. Also, Dennis Rodman was at this pay-per-view event. He came down to the ring with Hollywood Hogan. So Dennis Rodman was in the house. Now there's a stupid fly in my house right now, flying around. Fucking annoying. Anyways, Dennis Rodman was in the house with the NWO. And then Sting comes out at the end, has his baseball bat, I believe, and starts beating the crap, taking out the NWO, takes out Scott Hall, takes out Kevin Nash, takes out Hollywood Hogan. And then, or maybe Hollywood Hogan bailed out of the ring and ran away. Like he was scared to death of Sting. That was Uncensored 97. As I said, it was a very good pay-per-view. It was really entertaining. Now I'm going to talk about, should I talk about In Your House from April, or I'll talk about ECW Barely Legal, because that happened first in April. ECW Barely Legal, their first ever pay-per-view event ever. I was really happy to hear ECW got on pay-per-view. So then there's 3 major companies. Of course, ECW was the smallest of the 3. But in my opinion, they did become the number 2 wrestling company behind the WWF around 98, because WCW started just not doing well and not putting on good shows. Anyways, ECW did become number 2, in my opinion, above WCW. And WCW went to number 3. And probably late or early 98, or in the middle of 98, ECW overtook WCW. In my opinion, maybe a lot of other fans will argue, and I'll hear from people on Twitter that WCW was always above ECW. Fine, that's your opinion. ECW Barely Legal took place on April 13th, 97, from Philadelphia, the ECW Arena. And I believe the WWF helped them with a lighting and production for their very first pay-per-view. First match of the pay-per-view, there were 2 dark matches, but I won't mention them. I'll just talk about the pay-per-view matches. First match was the Eliminators defeated the team of Cronus and Perry Saturn. The Eliminators defeating the team of the ECW World Tag Team Champions, the Dudley Boys, Devon and Bubba Ray. So the Eliminators win the ECW World Tag Team titles in the ECW's first ever pay-per-view match. We have new champions. Up next was Rob Van Dam wrestling against Lance Storm. RVD defeats Lance Storm, and they had a damn good match. Up next was a 6-man tag, and it was awesome. It was talents from, I believe, Michinoku Pro Wrestling. You had the Gran Hamada, some guy's name I cannot pronounce. Anyways, Gran Hamada, some other guy, and the Great Sasuke, or Sasuke, or I think I just pronounced it Great Sasuke. They defeated the team of Terry Boy, Takamichinoku, and Dick Togo. Later on, they would go to the WWF and become Kaientai. Around 98, around the summer of 98, they would show up in the WWF and become Kaientai. Up next was the television championship on the line. Shane Douglas defeated Pitbull number 2. Pitbull number 1 had a broken neck. He had a neck brace on. He was sitting in the first row of the ECW arena, and I think he even got involved. Up next was the match of the century. ECW billed it as Sabu versus Taz. These two had a feud from well over a year, from 96 all the way up until their first pay-per-view. Taz kept calling out Sabu on the microphone. He would keep getting on the mic, calling out Sabu, ripping Sabu to shreds, basically chanting Sabu's name, getting the crowd to chant Sabu's name. Then Taz would say, "He's not fucking coming," and stuff like that. Taz was, when he was a heel, he was always great, and he was always awesome at promos. Even as a baby face, when he was ECW World Champion, I loved his promos, where he would put the towel on his head. He just did great promos. Anyway, Sabu and Taz. This could have been the main event of Barely Legal. Maybe it should have been, but I understand Terry Funk winning the world title. That was a great decision to close the show with that. But Sabu and Taz could have easily closed Barely Legal on pay-per-view. Anyways, Taz defeats Sabu, and then right after Barely Legal, they would have another match. at WrestlePalooza 97. I have it on DVD, and Taz and Sabu have another pretty good match. I think Sabu wins it. I can't really remember. Up next, Terry Funk in a three-way dance to determine the new #1 contender to challenge Raven at Barely Legal. So the winner of this three-way dance would challenge the ECW Heavyweight Champion Raven. It was Terry Funk taking on Stevie Richards, leader of the BWO. He was called Big Stevie Cool. BWO was funny as hell. It was entertaining as hell. It was a parody of the NWO, obviously. They had blue shirts that were the same design of the NWO shirts, but they said BWO on them. You had the blue guy, the blue mini, Supernova, or Hollywood Nova, whatever they were calling them. And then they had Big Stevie Cool, Stevie Richards playing the part of Kevin Nash, and it was damn funny, and it was entertaining as hell. I enjoyed the BWO. So Terry Funk versus Stevie Richards versus the Sandman in a three-way match. Terry Funk wins and gets a victory and earns a ECW title shot. Right after he wins, Raven comes out, gets on the microphone, or beats the crap out of Terry Funk a little bit, busts him open really bad. Terry Funk is bleeding buckets. And then Raven gets on the mic and yells up to Tommy Dreamer, calls out Tommy Dreamer, who's sitting at the commentary with Joey Styles above the arena. Calls out Tommy Dreamer, says, "I'm going to destroy your mentor and end his career." Something like that. And then you have, I believe it was Big Dick Dudley comes out on the stage where Tommy Dreamer is behind him, smashes a garbage can over Tommy Dreamer's head, tries to choke slam him off the balcony. It does not work. Picks up Tommy Dreamer counters it, kicks Big Dick right in the nuts, and then grabs him by the throat and throws Big Dick Dudley off the balcony. Big Dick Dudley crashes through like 2 or 3 tables. It was insane. Crowd goes crazy. They start chanting ECW, ECW. That was awesome. And then Tommy Dreamer eventually makes his way from the balcony, makes his way into the ring, and beats up on Raven a little bit. And I believe he DDTs him. And then Raven even had some jobbers from his flock try to attack Tommy Dreamer, and he took them out. So it was Raven versus Terry Funk for the ECW World title. As I said, Terry Funk was busted open really bad, bleeding buckets. And then Terry Funk rolls up not Tommy Dreamer, stupid. I don't know why I said that. Terry Funk, not Schoolboy, small package. Puts Raven in a small package, pinning position 1, 2, 3. Raven wins the ECW World Heavyweight Championship. I believe Terry Funk was not Raven. If I said Raven wins, I apologize. Terry Funk wins the ECW World title. And then he goes into the crowd, hugging Tommy Dreamer, hugging the fans, celebrating with the fans. I believe Terry Funk was 52 or 53 at the time when he won the ECW title. Some say he should have retired before then. Whatever. He did not. He could still put on a pretty good, decent match, and he was a hardcore living legend. So I was happy to see Terry Funk still around in 97 and 98 when he would go to the WWF and have a short run with Cactus Jack playing Chainsaw Charlie. So I really enjoyed, and I was really happy that Terry Funk won the ECW World title. I did not see Barely Legal live on pay-per-view. I just did not. I didn't even know that it was on pay-per-view. But I did see that Monday Night Raw, and I did become aware of ECW from that Monday Night Raw in February at the Manhattan Center, where ECW talents were on Monday Night Raw. So that's how I became aware of ECW, but I didn't really think about ordering their first pay-per-view. But years later, in 99, I would order a lot of their pay-per-views until 99, and from March 99 until their death, until ECW's death and last pay-per-view in January 2001. So I would order every pay-per-view from March 99 to January 2001 because I was a huge ECW fan. So Terry Funk celebrates with the fans, and they're chanting. They start chanting my way, or their way, because they wanted Terry Funk to win the world title before he retires. And then ECW Barely Legal goes off the air. Great ending, great finish, having Terry Funk win the world title. So that was Barely Legal. ECW's next pay-per-view would be in August of 97. So they only had 3 pay-per-views in 97. And I'll talk about the other 2 in my future videos. Now I'm going to talk about WWF In Your House from April 97. April 20th, 97 was In Your House. First pay-per-view after WrestleMania 13. You had the Road Warriors, a Legion of Doom challenge Owen Hart and the British Bulldog for the World Tag Team titles. Legion of Doom would defeat the tag champs, but by disqualification when Bret Hart interfered. And Bret Hart turned heel right before this pay-per-view. He was going into WrestleMania 13 just about already as a heel because he was getting booed. And Stone Cold was getting cheered by a lot of fans. So on a Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, Bret Hart got Owen Hart and British Bulldog back together and to join him and start the Hart Foundation again. He cut a promo and told Owen and Davey Boy, he told them, why are we fighting each other? We're family, and let's stick together, and I love you. And then he looked at Owen Hart and he said, I love you. And then they all hugged. It was a great moment, and the Hart Foundation was born right there. The new Hart Foundation, where they added Brian Pillman and Jim Neidhart. So the Hart Foundation was already together in April 97. And in May, they just get bigger and add Jim Neidhart and Brian Pillman. Next match was Jesse James versus, and he defeats Rockabilly. And these 2 guys would later on in 97 become the New Age Outlaws. Great tag team. One of the best tag teams in WWE history. But at the time, they were not. They were, Jesse James came down to the ring singing the Double J theme music with My Baby Tonight, the lame-ass gimmick. And Rockabilly, I don't know who in the fuck came up with Rockabilly, but it was god-awful. So that match was a snooze fest. I fell asleep. It was really boring. Jesse James defeats Rockabilly and nobody cared. Believe me. WWF, that was the main event, so I won't talk about the WWF Championship match yet. Up next, Savio Vega defeated Intercontinental Champion Rocky Maivia by countout when Crush interfered. Crush was part of the Nation still. Going into the summer 97, Crush would start the DOA to fight the Nation, and Savio Vega would start Los Bolicuas to fight the Nation and DOA. So you had a Spanish group, like, and it was basically like a gang. They were like a gang. They probably made these 3 groups. You had the biker group of all white guys. You had a Spanish group of Hispanics, or Latino group of all Latinos, taking on a biker group, and then taking on an African American group in the Nation of Domination. So I think WWF did that to try to counter what the NWO had. And like the NWO was like a gang type group, type faction. So I think WWF copied WCW a lot by trying to get some of the what the hell is the word I'm looking for? To get some fans, I guess, that were fans of the NWO to start watching the Nation feud with Los Boricuas and the DOA. It wasn't the NWO. It was, I don't know what the hell it was. As I said, WWF probably did it to counter what the NWO had and what WCW had. But it did not really work. It was like just freaking race wars. You have Latinos versus blacks versus whites. It was just race wars. It was stupid, and you could never do that in 2015. Because society has changed. Anyways, Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Bret Hart by disqualification when Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith interfered. And before they interfered, Bret and Steve Austin had a pretty damn good match again at the next pay-per-view after WrestleMania. They had another good match. Wasn't as good as the WrestleMania 13 match, but it was still good. Main event was The Undertaker defending the WWF Championship on pay-per-view for the first time since WrestleMania, since winning it at WrestleMania 13. Undertaker defeats Mankind, and Mankind does a spot off the ring apron. I think Undertaker hits him with the steel stairs. Mankind flies off the ring apron head first through the table at ringside. That was an awesome spot. And it was just a cool spot to see. Done. Big props to Mankind, Mick Foley, for doing that. It was an awesome spot. And then after that spot, and Taker wins, he throws a fireball and burns Paul Bearer in the face, his former manager. That was also awesome. So In Your House, from April 97 was a pretty good pay-per-view. Now I'm going to talk about In Your House, number 15. In Your House 15 from May 11th, 97. First matchup of the pay-per-view was, I think this was on the pay-per-view, maybe it wasn't. I guess it was a dark match. Road Warriors defeat Owen Hart and British Bulldog by disqualification. I think this was on the pay-per-view. Or whatever. Maybe it wasn't. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeats Flash Funk. Up next, Mankind defeated Rocky Maivia by submission when you use a mandible claw on Rocky. Mandible claw, I always thought was a great move. Awesome finish. Kind of gross. Stick your fingers in another guy's mouth. But it was a great finish that Mankind came up with. Ahmed Johnson defeated Crush. And then he had to defeat Savio Vega to get to face Farouk. So he was running the gauntlet to try to go through the entire nation to get to Farouk. He defeats Crush, and then Ahmed defeats Savio Vega by disqualification. And then I Savio Vega attacks Ahmed Johnson with a steel chair and repeatedly attacks his right shoulder. And then Farouk comes in the ring to wrestle Ahmed. Ahmed was already injured. Farouk defeats Ahmed Johnson. And had Ahmed won all 3 matches against the Nation, the group would have had to disband and break up. But that did not happen. The Nation would get much better in the summer, probably late summer of 97, maybe before SummerSlam 97. The Nation would get a lot better when The Rock joined. Once The Rock joined the Nation, everybody could tell, everybody could see that The Rock, he had the look. He was going to be a mega superstar. And he was. And he still is. Up next was Ken Shamrock against Vader in a no-holds-barred match. This was Ken Shamrock's WWF pay-per-view wrestling debut, taking on Vader, a great big man and a badass. Ken Shamrock makes Vader submit to the ankle lock. I believe he used the ankle lock. It was a leg lock. Anyways, Vader submits to Ken Shamrock. And that was Ken Shamrock's, I believe, his second or third match on television in the WWF. And he looked really good, like he's been a wrestler for 5 or 10 years already. So he picked wrestling up really fast, coming over from UFC. Main event was, again, The Undertaker defending the title against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold was getting really over at this pay-per-view in your house. I believe it's called Cold Day in Hell. So Stone Cold was really over going into this match against The Undertaker. Undertaker is pretty over also. I guess Stone Cold was playing the heel role, but the crowd loved both guys. So it was like babyface versus babyface. The Undertaker defeats Stone Cold Steve Austin to retain the WWF Championship, and I believe Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation, they were sitting at ringside and they interfered, or they tried to interfere. Brian Pillman started ringing the bell to try to end the match and distract the referee, but it did not work. So that was In Your House, Cold Day in Hell, from May 97. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Spring Stampede 97. Took place April 6th, 97. First matchup was Rey Mysterio defeating Ultimo Dragon. Up next was U.S. Champion Dean Malenko defeating Chris Benoit by disqualification. Up next was TV Champion Prince Iaukea defeating Lord Steven Regal. Women's Championship. WCW had a women's championship. It was not around very long at all. Women's title. I cannot pronounce his woman's name. She was Japanese or from Japan. She defeated Medusa after Luna Vachon interfered. It was pretty shocking to see Luna show up in WCW because she was always in the WWF. Public Enemy defeated Jeff Jarrett and Steve McMichael. Nobody cared about that tag match. Believe me. What the hell is this? Kevin Nash and Rick Steiner wrestled to a no contest. I don't know what the hell this is talking about. what the hell is written down here. Nick Patrick walked out, refused to count Nash's pin on Steiner. I don't even remember Rick Steiner and Kevin Nash working against each other at Spring Stampede. I didn't think they did. Maybe they did. I haven't watched the show in years. Lex Luger defeated Booker T by submission in a four-way match. The Giant and Stevie Ray were also competing when Lex Luger earned a shot at the world title. And I think, who the hell knows? I can't remember. Oh, that was a different pay-per-view in '98 I was thinking of. So I guess the main event was a four-way between Lex Luger, Booker T, the Giant, and Stevie Ray. And Lex Luger forced Booker to submit. Diamond Dallas Page defeated Randy Macho Man Savage, and they had a great matchup. And very, very nice of Macho Man to put over DDP. Macho Man was a mega star. He could have won and went over DDP, but he did not. He didn't have an ego like a lot of guys did. Macho Man did not have an ego. He wanted to help other wrestlers out and put other wrestlers over. A lot of guys won't do that. Even to this day, they still won't. Anyways, Diamond Dallas Page defeats Randy Savage. That was the first match in their feud, and they would have two more matches on pay-per-views in '97. A match at Great American Bash and Halloween Havoc, which were great. In their series of matches in '97, they were awesome. I think one DDP and Macho Man match even won Match of the Year for '97. That was Spring Stampede. Now I'm going to talk about WCW Slamborre '97. Took place on May 18th, '97. And this was the return of the Nature Boy Ric Flair to the ring because he was out for a couple months with a torn rotator cuff. Torn rotator cuff is in your shoulder. So Flair was returning. And it was in Charlotte, North Carolina, Flair country, home of the Nature Boy. So he got a huge reaction and made huge pop when he came out. Lord Steven Regal, first match of Slamboree '97. Lord Steven Regal defeated television champion Ultimo Dragon to win the TV title. And Lord Steven would hold the TV title earlier in his career in '93 into '94. Medusa, up next, Medusa defeated Luna Vachon. Decent women's match, but I don't think it went very long. Rey Mysterio, up next, defeated Eugenia Yoshi somebody. So Rey wins. Glacier, again, feuding with Mortis. They would wrestle again. Glacier defeats Mortis by disqualification. U.S. champion Dean Malenko defeated Jeff Jarrett by submission. Rick and Scott Steiner, the Steiner brothers, defeat Conan and Hugh Morris. I believe they were still in the Dungeon of Doom at the time. And Dungeon of Doom was really lame and really just outdated and should have not been around in '97. And Conan, I believe, would join the NWO in '97, going into '98. Up next, Meng defeated Chris Benoit in a death match. When Chris Benoit passed out, while Meng had Chris Benoit in a nerve hold. Benoit and Meng, they were two intense wrestlers, and they had a pretty damn good match. Steve McMichael defeated Reggie White after hitting him with his steel briefcase. I don't know what WCW was thinking. I guess they offered Reggie White and they reached out to Reggie White to work Slamboree because he just came off a Super Bowl win with my Packers. I don't know why, but Reggie White wrestled at Slamboree and it was pretty damn confusing. The match wasn't confusing because it was a ex-football player against current football player, but still it was pretty stupid to put it on in WCW. On a pay-per-view, should have not been on a pay-per-view. They should have done it on a Nitro. Would have been better on a Nitro. Main event was the team of Nature Boy Ric Flair returning to the ring. As I said, he got a huge reaction. The fans loved it. Rowdy Piper, Ric Flair, and Kevin Green. Current football player Kevin Green worked in WCW a couple times as a wrestler. They defeat the team of the NWO Wolfpack. Wolfpack was known as Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Six. They were known as the Wolfpack. Later on in '98, WCW should have never done it, but they did. They started the NWO Wolfpack Red and Black. It was stupid, but I don't blame them because they didn't know what the hell else to do with the NWO. And Hollywood Hogan probably wanted to run the white and black NWO, so they came up with Kevin Nash running the red and black NWO, probably to feed their egos at the time. Whatever. But the original Wolfpack was known as Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Six. A team of Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, and Kevin Green defeated them. And it was a pretty good six-man tag. It was entertaining. I enjoyed it. That was Slamboree 97. Now I'm going to talk about Great American Bash. Happened on the 15th of June. I'll talk about King of the Ring 97 before Great American Bash. I'll start talking about Great American Bash and then shows after that in my next video. King of the Ring 97 took place in Providence, Rhode Island on June 8th, 97. First match of the pay-per-view was, I believe, a King of the Ring tournament match. Goldust defeated Crush. Up next, Owen Hart, the team of the Hart Foundation, Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart, and Davey Boy Smith defeat the team of the Legion of Doom and Psycho Sid. And this would be Psycho Sid's last ever WWF pay-per-view appearance. He has not came back since King of the Ring 97 to be on a pay-per-view. He did come back on a Monday Night Raw before Raw 1000. Or Sid might have even been at Raw 1000. I don't remember. I know he destroyed Heath Slater on a Raw, and I think he powerbombed him and destroyed him. And he was probably on Raw 1000 with the other legends. But Sid has not been on a pay-per-view since, for the WWF, since WWE, since King of the Ring 97 is when it was his last pay-per-view. His contract probably ran out and they did not renew it. And Sid was gone for the entire year in 98 doing what? I don't know. Probably playing softball because he's a huge fan of softball. He's a big softball player, I heard, is Sid. So he didn't show up until the beginning of 99. He came back in wrestling and showed up in ECW and worked for ECW for 4 to 5 months. And then he left, basically used ECW to get back into WCW and get a new contract. And it worked. He did get a new contract with WCW and would show up in the summer of '99. So, Sid's last pay-per-view, he loses on a team with the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. Up next was Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. They were tag team champions at the time. I think they had the tag team titles at the time. They were not getting along at all as tag partners. Shawn Michaels Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold wrestle to a no contest. I believe it was a double disqualification finish or something like that, because Stone Cold stunnered a referee, and then Shawn Michaels, I think, super kicked another referee that came down to the ring. And they wrestled for about, I think, 30 minutes. Really damn good match between Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold at King of the Ring '97. Check that out if you have the network. That match. World Champion The Undertaker defeated Farouk to retain the world title. And Paul Bearer, before the King of the Ring, or maybe it was after, Paul Bearer on Monday Night Raw started threatening The Undertaker that he was going to have to be under his control, or he was going to tell his secret, his family secret. And then he started giving hints to what the family secret was. He started saying on Raws, he was saying, Undertaker, I'm going to talk about your brother Kane. And nobody knew what the hell he was talking about. Nobody thought The Undertaker had a brother. But he started bringing up Kane. And I'm going to talk about what you did to your family. And I'm going to talk about Kane. So The Undertaker, Paul Bearer started managing The Undertaker again. And Paul Bearer was basically controlling The Undertaker for a little while until The Undertaker snapped and beat the crap out of him, I think, on a Monday Night Raw in '97. And before King of the Ring or after. And then Paul Bearer then started threatening more and more on the microphone on Raws that Kane was coming, Undertaker. He's screaming in his Paul Bearer gimmick voice that Kane is coming. Up next at King of the Ring was a King of the Ring semifinals match. And Farouk lost to The Undertaker, as I said. That spot was supposed to be Ahmed Johnson versus The Undertaker, but Ahmed Johnson got injured again. In his WWF career, he got injured again right when they were going to give him a push and give him a world title shot at King of the Ring. Then he gets injured again, so they put Farouk in there. And before King of the Ring, I believe Ahmed Johnson hit his finishing move, sit-out powerbomb, Pearl River plunge on The Undertaker and turned on him because he was his tag partner in a Raw main event. So Ahmed turned on The Undertaker, but Farouk got the title shot and lost. A King of the Ring semifinals match. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeats Ahmed Johnson. So I guess Ahmed was not supposed to get the world title shot at King of the Ring. He was supposed to get it in July, and then he got injured, as he was part of the Nation of Domination in July when Ahmed Johnson joined them on a Raw, stood on the stage with Farouk, and did this, the Nation symbol, or Nation hand symbol, whatever you want to call it. In '97, the fans, you had a lot of gang symbols, whatever you want to call them, gang symbols, hand symbols, wrestling symbols. You had this, the NWO. You had this, for life. You had this, Diamond Cutter. What else did you have? You had the Nation doing that, raising their fists. Maybe you probably had some other. You had this, what Stone Cold did. So you had a lot of hand symbols, and from a lot of people. It was pretty damn cool to do all those hand symbols if you go to a live show in 97 or 98 as a fan. So Ahmed loses. Excuse me. Ahmed loses to Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the King of the Ring. I thought that was odd. I thought Ahmed would have went over, but he did not. Obviously, he didn't go over because they wanted Triple H to win the King of the Ring. He was supposed to win it in 96, but he had too much heat on him for the curtain call in MSG, so they gave it to Stone Cold in 96. So 97, they gave it to Triple H. Up next, Mankind defeated Jerry the King Lawler by submission in a King of the Ring tournament match. The finals of the King of the Ring were Mankind versus Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Triple H, I believe, pedigreed Mankind through the announcer's table. It was an awful spot because the table did not break at the right time. When Triple H pedigreed him, the table did not go down, and then it just broke in half. I'm sure it was a gimmick table. It just when he landed on it, it didn't break, and then when they were both laying on it, and then it goes like this. So it was a bad spot. It looked awful watching it. Just, you knew something went wrong, and it was just a botch spot. But it wasn't Triple H and Mankind's fault. It was the table's fault. So Triple H wins and becomes a 1997 King of the Ring winner. King of the Ring 97 was a pretty good pay-per-view. Some stuff that happened on it, non-matches. You had Bret Hart come out with the Hart Foundation. Bret Hart cut a promo as a heel. And I think they went up to the announcer's table and started, I think somebody was sitting doing commentary, maybe a babyface or Jim Ross, and Brian Pillman started fucking with Jim Ross and picking up a bright ass light and shining it in their face. It was just funny stuff from Brian Pillman because he was insane. His character was a loose cannon. Anyways, that was a promo from the Hart Foundation at King of the Ring. It was pretty entertaining. And the matches were pretty entertaining and good. And then Stone Cold even attacked Brian Pillman backstage at the King of the Ring. In a backstage interview segment with Brian Pillman, Stone Cold attacked him and put his head in the toilet and gave him a swirly. Stuck his head in the toilet and flushed it. That was awesome. So King of the Ring was a good show. I enjoyed it. This ends my video, The Year in Wrestling 1997 Part 2. I talked about April 97, WWF In Your House. May 97, talked about WCW Uncensored, Slamborre, and I talked about King of the Ring. So I'm sorry this video went long. I had a lot to say about these pay-per-views, and I talked about ECW Barely Legal. So that's 6 pay-per-views I talked about and discussed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did not, I don't care. Thanks for watching. This was The Year in Wrestling 1997 Part 2. I'll be back with a Part 3 and probably upload it on Sunday night. Bye for now, everybody. Have a good weekend.